In this video, we're going to talk about our factoring method called box or split the middle. We're going to use this anytime we have three terms and specifically of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Our first thing will be to put the first and last terms in the box in the first and last spots. That's going to be the same as with grouping. Highest degree goes in the first box, constant goes in the last box. And here's where it's different. To do the middle box, because I only have one term in the middle, I need to split that term. So I'm going to multiply A times C, my first and my last. I'm going to find factors of AC that add to B. We're going to do several examples. Hopefully that'll help you to see that part. You're going to put those two numbers in the middle of the box. That's the split part. We're taking this middle term and we're splitting it. But we have to split it perfectly. We have to split it so that it meets both criteria. Factors of AC that add to B. Then we're going to do just what we did in grouping. We're going to pull out from each row and each column. And then we're going to do a quick multiply to check and write your answers as a product of two binomials. So we're using the box method, but because we have three terms, and the box has 4 spots, we're going to have to split that middle term for the middle box in order for this to work. Let's go ahead and take a look at example 1. Okay, so the first thing I want you to see, the A is 2, the B is 1, the C is negative 15. When I say multiply A times C, I'm talking about those two, including the sign. So 2 times negative 15 is negative 30. That's step 1. No, sorry, that's the beginning of step 2. Step 1 was to place the first and last. Okay, now we want to find two things that multiply to negative 30 and add to 1, the middle term. I'm going to write everything that multiplies to 30. So first I'm going to do that. So 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 4 doesn't go, 5 times 6, and then 6 would start us over. Now, I have to think about my signs. I want to multiply to a 30, so my signs will be different. 1 positive, 1 negative. I want to add to a positive 1, so my smaller sign will be negative. Okay, now when I say I want to add to 1, ready? Negative 1 plus 29. So on the second column I'm adding. Negative 1 plus 30 would be 29. That doesn't work. Negative 2 plus 15 would be 13. That doesn't work. Negative 3 plus 10 would be 7. That doesn't work. Negative 5 plus 6 would be 1. That's the one I want. Okay. We're going to do that several times, so hopefully you'll get to where you understand what's happening there. That one takes a little practice. So I'm going to put the negative 5 and the 6 in, but be careful. I don't want it to actually add to 1. I want it to add to 1x. So I need to put 6x and negative 5x. Okay, so ready? I want to make it very clear what I'm doing. There's my 2x squared. Negative 5x plus 6x is 1x. Negative 15 is negative 15. So I took this middle term and I split it. The first and the last term stayed the same. Now I can pull out the GCF of each row, each column. So I'm going to go first my columns. Doesn't really matter which one I do first, but I'm going to do my columns first. 2 and 6 have a 2 in common and an x in common. Remember, you choose the smallest exponent. 5 and 15 have a 5 in common, no x, and then because that's negative, that's going to be negative. Remember, the sign's going to be the same as the box that's closest to it. Then I'm going to do each row. So 2 and negative 5 have nothing in common, so 1. x squared and x, take the smallest exponent, which is 1. 6 and 15 have 3 in common. They don't have x in common. And because that's positive, that's going to be positive. Doing my multiply, 1x times 2x is 2x squared. 1x times negative 5 is negative 5x. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. If you made a mistake in pulling out your GCF or choosing your numbers or anything like that, that multiply step isn't going to work. So that'll be a big indicator that you did something wrong. Fix it. Now I'm going to write my answer as the product of two binomials. Does not matter which one I put first, but remember, it's coming from here. This right here is one of your terms, and this right here is the other. One of your factors and the other factor. That's where I'm getting the 2x minus 5 and the x plus 3. Okay, let's do example 2. So again, first I'm going to start by drawing the box, putting your first and your last term. Remember, there's a 1 here. So now I'm going to multiply a times c, positive 12. And I want to multiply to 12, add to negative 7. So let's make sure we understand where this little chart is coming from. It's that step 2. Multiplying first times last is 12. And I want to add to the middle, which is negative 7. Remember, when you put it in the box, you're going to put a y with it. But to pick our numbers, here's what I'm going to do. If you see which 2 it is already, that's fine. I'm going to list my factors of 12 to start with. Here we go. So 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4, 5 doesn't go, and 6 will start us over. So that's all my factors. I have to think about my signs. If I have a positive 12 that I'm multiplying to, my signs are going to be the same. Since I'm adding to a negative 7, they're both going to be negative. So negative 1 and negative 12, that would add to negative 13. That doesn't work. Too close to the edge. Negative 2 and negative 6, that adds to a negative 8. That doesn't work. Negative 3 and negative 7, sorry, negative 3 and negative 4, that adds to a negative 7. So that one works. So I'm going to put in negative 3, negative 4, but remember I'm trying to add to 7y, so I need to put the y with it. All right, I'm going to go through that process again. Multiply your first and last coefficients. 1 times 12 is 12. We want to add to a negative 7. Since I'm multiplying to a positive, my signs will be the same. Since I'm adding to a negative, they're both going to be negative. So negative 3 times negative 4 multiplies to 12. Negative 3 plus negative 4 adds to negative 7. So that worked. I took my 2 that I split that 12 into negative 3 and negative 4. Put them in, don't forget the y. And then now I'm going to pull out my greatest common factor. So first I'm going to go columns, y squared and negative 4y have y in common. Again, I'm doing this. And then this. Negative 3 and 12, the 3 is common because this right here is negative, that's going to be negative. No y because it's not common. This one doesn't have a y. Then I'm going to do 2 times 6 times 4 times 12. 2 times 6 is 24. 4 times 12 is 24. 4 times 12 is 24. 4 times 6 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 is 24. each of the rows. So pulling out the GCF from each row, y squared and negative 3y just have a y in common. 4 and 12 has a 4 in common. And because this is negative, this is going to be negative. So this time they're both negative. Doing a remultiply to check. Y times y is y squared. Y times negative 3 is negative 3y. Negative 4 times y is negative 4y. Negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12. Writing my two answers, or sorry, two factors. This is my final answer. Again, that's coming from here and here. We're going to do the last two examples together. You can see I've got a bit bigger numbers in number 3, in example 3. I'm going to show you a little trick when the numbers are so big like that. Show you a little trick. Alrighty.